So after a series presentation, which was focused on smart grid for water, what I would like to share with you is actually how the smart grid for water approach stands in the global approach we have around management of cities and territories. So the idea of my part is actually to put a focus on the global picture from the Veolia point of view. So basically, what we see if we take things from territory evolution point of view is that territories of tomorrow, they will need to be modeled, they will need to be planned and managed in a modular and smart ways in order to provide the maximum benefit for citizens and the economic development. So if we want to be in a position to do that, and for instance, we as Veolia, we work in all major territory functions. It could be in water management, that is obvious, you all know about it, about waste management, from waste collection to waste treatment and recovery, energy management, and also transportation. For the water part, you basically know where we stand at the current time, so servicing more than 170 million customers on a global base. I think the interesting part, and that point was mentioned actually during the first introduction of the IWA, is that the next innovation frontier is really going to be around territories. I guess, how can you model the evolution of a territory? How can you plan the way you're going to make your territory and city move, and how are you going to manage it in a very efficient way? So basically what we're working on the current time is modeling territories and cities as complex systems. So I don't know if the term complex systems really rings a bell for you. To illustrate, for instance, complex system is that if you take human body, for instance, if I have a stomachache, this will have an influence on my behavior, on different functioning of my body. So basically, when you're saying modeling a territory as a complex system, is understanding if you do something, what is going to be the influence on the other elements around. I'll give you an example. You extend a district heating network. That will have an influence on the soil occupation. That will have an influence on the habitat. So applying this complex modeling approach to territories can allow the local governments to have tools to make some arbitrage and proceed with arbitrage. So for instance, Cyril mentioned what has been developed within NDTech, and for instance, if we talk about modeling, what we have done is we actually partner with a startup company called Cosmo. Cosmo stands for Complex Systems Modeling, and we have applied this complex systems approach and simulation to apply that to the cities. So for water management, energy management, waste management, and other flows, in order to be able to give local government tools to proceed with some arbitrage when they need to forecast the way they'd like to plan the evolution of their territories or cities. The second element, I think, which is important, is that when you want to manage a territory or help the local government to manage their territories, it's about planification. And planification, it can go from easy stuff, in between comma, I guess, for instance, what I call micro-planning. When you're extending a district heating network, it's micro-planning. When you try to revamp a neighborhood and make it a green neighborhood, it could be micro-planning to macro-planning. So the way you're going to reorganize the flows inside your city. One very crucial point, if you want to do that, is the capacity to put the stakeholders all together. So it's not a question of playing, startup against corporate. It's the question of it's not putting local entities against big entities. It's the question of putting all the stakeholders together. And that is having together local government, startups, corporates, the commercial stakeholders, the financial community in order to make it sustainable, and the citizens. Because one thing that we see, we've been in the trade of environmental services for a very long time. Water, it's a 150-year story for us. We really seen the evolution from a B2B approach to a B2B for C. And the C is a consumer and is a citizen. And we see them more and more involved in the management of their city. You see examples now. You take your smartphone. I'm walking the street in the city. I take my smartphone. I see a leak or a problem on the road, for instance, a hole in the road. I take a picture. I geolocalize myself. I send the picture to the technical department of the local government. So I become an actor myself of getting my city more efficient. And that trend is a very important trend in a business. We used to be a B2B business. And the third layer will be what we can call the digital approach. So it's the example I've given. Myself, I'm taking my smartphone to take a picture of a problem, send it to the technical department of the local government, and I'm expecting this local government to react and solve the problem on one aspect. And then it's all the layers of intelligence that you can put in the management of the infrastructure per se, from sensors to the communication technology, to then processing this data and make something out of the data and make money out of it. So I think this aspect is all the points on which we're working at the current time. So helping micro to macro planning, putting all the stakeholders together in order to find the best solution and sustainable one also from a financial standpoint, and work on the digital approach in order to make sure that you're getting the most efficiency out of the systems. One illustration of that is, I took that example again as a partnership we've signed with an Australian company which is called ISD. And ISD has developed, used to come from the defense sector and use agent-based modeling in order to forecast what is going to be the consumer behavior and then their requirements in terms of water consumption, for instance. So once again, you're in the anticipation of the needs in order downstream to manage the asset in a more efficient way. And the last point, when you're clear about, when you work on the modeling part, on the planification part, is the question of how are you going to manage and execute on innovative business models. So we all, there are traditional business models under which you operate the assets from a global standpoint to a new business model as managing the efficiencies in the way you manage the assets. New York being on our side, for instance, the last example of managing the water in New York, but managing it from an efficiency standpoint and helping the local government gaining efficiencies, putting all the expertise we have, the means and technology means we have to help them get the most value out of the way they manage the water infrastructure. So it really goes from being flexible depending on the different location and putting some innovation and renew the business models around managing infrastructure. And we've done that, and this is the reason why I thought it was also important to share it with you. This dimension of playing with the different stakeholders. We've done that working with startup companies. Cosmo was an example from France. ISD from Australia is another example. And this is one of the reasons why, one of the drivers, why we put together, for instance, the Veolia Innovation Accelerator program to develop and facilitate and accelerate the development of partnership with young companies in order to be able to capture the most value working with small companies and making sure we have, working together, the biggest impact to serve the community. Thank you for your attention.